Hi, my name is Janelle, and I'm an adoption and change management practitioner. For today's tech tip, we're going to take a look at the life cycle of a document. Basically, what to use when in terms of OneDrive, Teams, and SharePoint. So to begin, let's have a look at the file management applications, OneDrive and SharePoint in terms of features and function. To start, we're going to talk about access. Who has access to these platforms? Well, by default, for OneDrive, it's a private space. It is for an individual to work within versus SharePoint is a shared space for a group of people to have access to and work within. And this is defined by permissions. Permissions in OneDrive are assigned by file, meaning each individual file is private unless the owner grants sharing permissions to individuals or groups. Whereas by default in SharePoint, permissions are assigned by group. So anyone who has access to a certain file location can view the files that are sitting within there. Now, a wonderful feature of both OneDrive and SharePoint is the ability to co-author documents. And this is an available feature in both OneDrive and SharePoint. The difference being in OneDrive that this is not by default. Individuals must grant sharing access in order for others to co-author a document, whereas in SharePoint, files that reside in that space can be co-authored. Along with this are notifications around any changes made to a document. OneDrive, there are no notifications via email or otherwise. If a document has been edited by another individual, you can see those changes within the file itself, but you are not notified of anyone working on the file or making changes in real time, which happens with SharePoint. Now, another great feature is version history and overall management of documents through version history. Both OneDrive and SharePoint do keep a version history of documents and their changes over time, and you can restore previous versions if you so choose. Now, the abilities and functions within SharePoint are much more robust, and this is due to the nature that it is a group platform. It is designed for multiple people to work on any given document at any given time. So there's extra functions there around managing copies, checking out or checking in documents for use, as well as creating workflows. And finally, both OneDrive and SharePoint are compatible for multiple device access and syncing. So you can access OneDrive and SharePoint via a mobile device or a desktop, a laptop, and no matter which route you go to access your files, any changes are synced within the cloud. So that gives a good background of OneDrive versus SharePoint. OneDrive being your space about you. You are the one that has access, whether you've uploaded a file to OneDrive or have created within, and you get to control who can see those files or who you share those files with, whereas SharePoint by default is a group working situation where any files there are defined by those who have access to the overall file location. Now, where does Microsoft Teams come into play to this? Well, it's kind of sandwiched in the middle. It is very much your workshop. So an overall life cycle of a document can look very much like beginning in OneDrive as a draft document, then moving its way into Teams, your collaboration space to have conversations, to work on documents, and then finally residing in SharePoint. Now do remember that Teams is built off of SharePoint. So as soon as a file is moved into Teams, it is in a SharePoint environment and has all the functions and features that SharePoint has. So I hope this helps you with what to use when in terms of OneDrive, Teams, and SharePoint. A good statement that you can think about is OneDrive me, SharePoint and Teams we. And basically to think that documents start in OneDrive and end in Teams or SharePoint. All the best in using these spaces and applications with the life cycle of a document.